You're listening to Leverage, the podcast about power, politics, and influence.
And we are back at the Black Millennial Convention, second annual.
Hey, man.
With the magical, the mystical, the incomparable,
the ever strategic,
the ever strategic, the he who needs no introduction, but we gonna give him one anyway.
No. Come on.
Jewell's like, okay,
the
stop.
One, the only. Right, he said, y'all can stop now. Jewell Jones.
Yeah, we clapping it up.
All right.
So much gas. That's crazy.
All of it. We can't help it.
I love
Okay. So if there is anybody out there who possibly has been living under a rock and does not know who you are, Jewell, tell the good people who you be, what you do, where you're from.
That's right.
And how you came to be a part of this Black Millennial Convention phenomenon.
Well, y'all family, I'm just happy to be here. But, you know, first and foremost, I'm from Inkster, Michigan, the great city of Inkster, Michigan. About 25,000 people and some change.
Okay.
You know, I am a state representative for Michigan right now.
He's doing his political due diligence, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out.
Yes.
Still in the Army and the National Guard now, doing intel for Military Police Battalion. I'm a auxiliary police officer, senior deacon at church, and I'm a new uncle.
Come on, Uncle Duty.
Yeah. So we out here. But as far as BMC goes, you know, had a conversation with Dr. Bellamy at CBC in 2017, and we wanted space for black folk, young black folk, and to be here at the second annual one is just, you know, it's almost, if I was a crier, tears would come to my eyes.
Right.
You know, if I was a crier, tears would come to my eyes.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I love it.
So one of the things I think is great, right, this key about young black folk and creating space. Can you tell the people how young you actually are? Because, like...
Right, and this story on how you got elected.
Yes,
as a youngest member in that legislature.
Because a lot of times, like, people feel like, oh, I'm too young to get involved, or I can't make an impact. And it's like, oh no, this man got the service list longer than a whole lot of grown folks I know. You know? So like, tell your story.
Service, that's a good choice of words.
Tell your story.
Well, I just turned 24, you know, a few weeks ago, and I'm getting up there. Facial hair coming together.
Don't do that now. Hold on. Now we all feeling.
But got my start on city council. I was 19. I was a sophomore in college. People were telling me to run, so I was like, it'd be dope to be on city council. So went ahead, mobilized, jumped out there, made a little Facebook post. So social media was big for me. I said, if I get enough likes on it, I'm gonna go ahead and run. Got like 200 likes, 300 likes, something like that. And I was like, okay, this must be God, you know?
Right.
And so we had jumped out there, and it's just been a ride ever since. Moving from just that 1 year on city council to the state legislature, when my state rep had actually passed away. It was 12 people running for the nomination. I was down south training at Fort Knox, doing some military training. I get back home in like end of July, and they're like, "You're the Democratic nominee, run for office." You know,
like, huh?
So we like task oriented. Got my marching orders. We went ahead and hit it, and it's been a blessing ever since.
What's that transition and that experience been like for you, being so young? And serving, like, you know, like being an elected official, like the same time that you're a military man.
Right.
Like, it's like service is so core to who you are.
That's right.
Right, and I think a lot of times young black people in particular get, like, there's this misnomer or like a bad label that says we don't know what service looks like, feels like. What's that journey been like for you, and how does that feel? How do you spread that love?
It's been very educational, I would say. It's been pleasant though. You know, it's kind of like I have to shift paradigms all the time because, you know, in the military I'm under people, you know, or when I'm at the police department, I'm under people. But then when I'm in politics or in government, I'm on top. You know, I don't want to say I'm on top of people, but I'm the manager, I'm the leader. And so just being able to shift the paradigms has been very good for me, especially working with other young people, because now I can help people navigate some of these different spaces that we find ourselves in. But it's been very, I don't know, it's been very strange because, you know, I wanted to be a spy back in the day, you know? So it's like, for me to be here.
I was wondering when he was going to get to that.
Yeah. For me to be here, you know, in this, like out front, fighting the good fight, you know, this was a whole shift that I wasn't really expecting. And so it's been a journey. It's been a journey for sure. I would say, you know, a journey is an understatement. It's been a roller coaster. You know, I've been all over the place, but it's been really good. And being able to connect with people like yourself, like my brother here. I remember when, you know, I first ran into him. You know, and to see y'all young black folk all across the nation, all across the world, doing all these great things, especially here in one space right now, it's a powerful feeling.
Yeah. So I think one thing, you know, that kind of speaks to your character. is that, as my twin put it eloquently, service, right? The service list, because I think that that's also an opportunity to rebrand this what patriotism is, right? That it, and we're grateful for serving. You know, I'm an Air Force brat, air power every day, although we love all the services. But, you know, this narrative.
Is that why you so fly?
Huh?
Is that why you so fly?
That's what I was I see what you did there.
I don't know if y'all seen the slacks. I don't know if y'all seen the slacks. He crispy out here.
But it was, you know, we're in a space where we're trying to rebrand what patriotism is, because, you know, we had the Colin Kaepernicks and this whole you're not patriotic if you're speaking out, but you've kind of modeled this. There's different ways to contribute positively, right? In community from a service standpoint, and that as patriotism. You just recently had this re-election, right?
Yep,
congratulations on getting back in. What would you say as the youngest? You know, you were the youngest in the state legislature. I don't know if that's still. Are you still the youngest? Okay. So as you're the youngest, what would you say is some advice you would give other young aspiring politicians?
I would say, you know, make your move before you're ready. I think that's the key.
Interesting.
You know, a lot of people, like you were saying earlier, you know, people like, oh, I need to get done with my degree. I need to graduate. I need to get my life together. I need to get my finances together. I need to learn more. I need to meet more people. I need to go more places. You know, when you do that, you'll get 5, 10, 15 years down the road saying, oh, I wish I would have done X, Y, and Z. When you could just jump out there and do it while you have the energy, as soon as the thought pops in your head, you should be, you know, off running. And there's people here to support you, know, especially being in a space like this. If you're a young person and you have a voice and you have a platform, especially use it and speak out. You know, don't, you know, be unapologetic about your business, you know, because you were making space for other black people. Right. So the moment that you get that door open just a little bit more, then somebody else can come and squeeze, you know, somebody else can come and squeeze, and you just continue that whole avenue, and that's succession planning, that's sustainability. And so, you know, just make your move before you're ready. Don't wait.
Right. Now, I'm gonna ask a question. It may be a little controversial, and we don't have to throw any names out there.
Twin, I'm looking at you.
So one of the things that I have noticed, especially when you have young people,
I'm waiting.
You know, like especially when you have young people trying to get involved in the process, you know, get in these leadership positions, impact their community. Sometimes
I should be building it up like this.
I'm nervous.
Sometimes there is a tension between young people and people who've been there a lot longer. People who have made their entire careers off of being a leader for our community.
Is this a wait your turn and wait your time?
It sure is.
That's why we twins. That's why we twins.
I'm like, how have you been navigating that? Like, what's that support dynamic been for you from like that kind of intergenerational piece, and like, how do you think we, especially as black people, could do better so that there is real succession planning, right? Like people who've been in office or at the head of an organization for the entirety of their careers feel comfortable with passing the torch. And we get to keep some of that institutional wisdom, that flows with it. And like, we don't have to recreate the wheel all the time. That was politically correct framing, right?
That was good.
See, we did,
you did good, twin.
We got it.
That was good. I think it's been. I think for me, I've really had a blessed support system and blessed group of people around me. You know, so it's like, you know, the OGs for me have really looked out. But I see it definitely other situations when I see other people want to do things or they want to become something. They have certain, you know, some of the old heads that's been in the game just don't want to make that space. You know, for whatever reason, maybe they don't believe. Maybe they're not comfortable with the person coming up, or maybe they feel like the person coming up is going to diminish some kind of history they've created or some kind of path they created. But I think the only way we can do better is it's the communication. You know, we had this lack of communication between generations. And I think for a long time, you know, since the 60s, 70s, when we really had this real strong sense of community because we were all under this intense pressure, you know, generations before us become complacent, you know, to a degree, because we got a little bit of what we wanted. And they were like, okay,
finally got a piece of the pie, and we said we full.
And they sat back. And so I think that whole lack of action, you know, after we really got in that whole push for more change, kind of slowed us down. And when it slowed us down, I believe that's when people started getting in those places and they started sitting there. Because we didn't really have that leadership to take us to the next level. So the people that got there and they made it, they stayed there. and they've just been there for years. But the only way we can overcome that is really the communication piece. And sometimes you got to push people too, you know. So I've definitely been in rooms with some of our own people, and I'm figuring out, why do I have to negotiate with you to make space for more of our young people to come into this room? It's like, y'all supposed to be here fighting the good fight, opening up the doors, you know, doing all this, giving us the keys. Why am I sitting here negotiating with you about something that we're supposed to do in order to get past, you know, the next person? So
let me ask you this then. You know, one of the things that I do like about the Black Millennial Convention is it was founded on this we rise together, right? Collaborative models. Let's be broad, intersectional in our coming up and building these different models. But the other piece is you're dealing with a lot of young people, and we often use it's the next generation when the reality is it's now generation.
Right.
So how are we making space for the nows while also making room for this new voice that is developing, those in high school, right? Those that are just about to start college, even those in middle school. We saw what happened in Florida after the shooting. We're seeing these activists. How have you been kind of building these pipelines, you know, and leaving a legacy? We don't have to wait till you have an accomplishment to leave a legacy. So how have you been building?
It's all about meeting people where they're at, you know. So it's like we go to the high schools, we go to the block, we go to the churches, we go to the rec centers. You know, I'm out there hooping with them. I'm out there praying with them. I'm out there, you know, doing homework with folks. You know, tutoring them, studying. And I think that's the only way you can really accomplish that, because the communication piece between, you know, us being young folk, it's still a way we have to figure out how do we communicate to the people younger than us, because the conversations are changing, and lifestyles are changing so drastically, and so it's if we don't meet them where they're at and figure out exactly what's going on in their life, we're gonna miss out on impacting their generation in an effective manner. And so for us, it's just meeting people where they're at. You know, it's like that's the only way we can really connect with them. We can't tell them, hey, we're having an event over here, we're having a party, we're having a get together, we're having a social mixture, come out. Because, you know, people for whatever reason have hindrances in the way. And so the only way we can do it is we take the action into our own hands and go out there and make it happen.
And I think it comes back to this idea of like building community.
Right.
Because it's like you can't even effectively communicate with people if there isn't some common ground, right? So I love that idea. It's like I have one more question for you, because I know there's lots going on and you're busy. What we have not yet discussed on the laundry list of dope stuff that you do is your latest foray into entrepreneurship. Tell the people.
Would that be when the hashtag holla clothing line?
Hashtag holla. Tell the good people about your new line, where they can find it, and where they can follow you.
And he has a merch table here, so those of y'all here that hit that merch table.
Shoot, the holla brand came together. This is a hashtag I've been using since I ran for city council back in 2015. So my brother's a brand developer, S-Boy with Enjoy Detroit back in Michigan. He's like, man, you need to go ahead and turn that hashtag into a brand, start making some money off of it, you know, because like you don't get rich in politics, you know, if you're doing things the right way. If you're doing things the right way, right? And we want to do things the right way. We want to do things the right way.
Right.
And so we went ahead and started the brand. We're on Instagram at Holla Movement. The hollamovement.com is going to be coming soon. We're reconstructing the website. But, I mean, it's just a way for us to continue spreading. It's turned into a social experiment because, you know, I'm out here campaigning, I'm talking, trying to figure out, really at the end of the day, a catchword on how to capture people's attention so they can associate something with me. And so it was holla. You know, I got the old heads. I'll be at the senior buildings. They be holla, you know, and then I'll be in the high school, I'll be in the elementary school. Like, oh, that's Mr. Holla. You know, so it's like, it's become this aura. And so it's just a way for us to continue pushing that movement out, and it's all about positivity. And so that's it. But, you know, I feel like business is the way to go. Economics and finances is a good way to empower our people, and so I want to make sure I'm comfortable in all aspects. If I'm going to be a true representative of the people, I want to make sure that I'm, you know, got my business tight.
Twin, we're going to have this conversation later, but what he just said, that multiple streams of income, our leverage, that's going to be a subject, because you've got to, don't just put yourself in the box. Anything that you have that's that brilliant, get you some multiple streams of income, because social justice is not free. It's an expensive work in order to change systems. So
hashtag holla on that.
Right. Hashtag holla.
No, let's say hashtag
coin.
Hashtag coin. on. Oh,
Well, look.
I'm practicing.
Well, sir, we are proud of you. Absolutely. I know Twin and I are very proud of all the work that you're doing. Keep up the positivity. Keep up being a role model to people, you know, and this is a great collaboration that you guys have put on for now the second year.
Yes. Oh, where can people follow you
Yes.
before we roll out?
Y'all can follow me on Instagram at Jewell Jones MI from Michigan. And then on Facebook and everything else, Jewell Jones. Just look me up. I should be there waiting on you.
Alrighty.
Shoot me a message. I'll make sure I follow back. Holla.
Holla.
Y'all be easy.
You're listening to Leverage, the podcast about power, politics, and influence.